What's going on, guys? Ben here with Fret to Fret. In today's video, I want to talk to you pretty quickly, hopefully quick. I don't want to make this video too long. I want to talk to you about EQ. EQ, in my opinion, is one of the most important, if not the most important, plugin in any would-be audio engineer's toolkit or professional audio engineer. I think it's also one of the most misunderstood and misused plugins as well. So let's get into this. Also, I just wanted to let you know I've got something I want to give you, so pay attention to the very end of this video. I'm going to let you know about a free gift I have for you just for watching to the end, so I would appreciate that. And also, let's be interactive here. If along the way you hear me say something that's completely false and heretic, then let me know. Leave a hateful, mean comment, and give a thumbs down, and yeah. So let's do this. All right, so EQ. Let's see, where do we start here? Let's see, I want to play this little clip for you of this song I'm working on. This is a song I'm working on. These are the drum, or some of the drums here, and what I want you to specifically pay attention to is the snare drum. Now, in this particular drum mic setup rather, he has a snare bottom and a snare top. And we're just going to be really focusing on the snare top mic. So the snare bottom's a different day. That's a different world. Anyway, I'm going to play this for you. I'm going to play it in context of the song, and then I'm going to solo it so you can just hear the snare drum, and then we're going to dive in, throw an EQ on it, and we're going to go from there. So all right, so his drum set, this particular drummer's setup, it doesn't sound bad, just as is. He's got a pretty good drum set, and he's got a pretty good mic setup and a pretty good room that he records in. I use drummers that I find on a website called Fiverr. You may have heard of it. Maybe I'll do a review or something about it. But anyway, he's got a pretty good setup, and he sends me all of his stems, and he's got a ton of stems here for all of his drums. But we're just going to be focusing on the snare. So let's get an EQ pulled up here. And by the way, just to let you know really quick, yes, it does matter what order your plugins, like what order you put them on your track. So I always EQ first, or not, maybe I shouldn't say always, but I typically EQ first, and then I'll add compression. This is something that just needs to go away. So, all right, so I'll typically EQ first and then add a compressor after the fact. We're not going to talk about compression today. It's a whole other video, a whole other topic, whole other headache. So here is our standard EQ plugin. This is our standard 7-band EQ plugin that comes stock with Studio One. Your DAW will no doubt have something very similar to this. Why do they call it a 7-band EQ? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. Because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bands to play with. So all of these guys here that we can light up, they are all the bands that we can play with. And you'll notice these guys in the end, this guy and this guy, these are low cut and high cut. And what does that mean? Well, it means exactly what you think it means. It means that when you engage the high cut, you are cutting high frequencies. You are cutting the frequencies above this line right here, this beautiful line that just kind of keeps going and going and going and going. But we only see this. Same thing with the low cut. When you engage the low cut, oh my God, you are cutting low frequencies that are below this beautiful line that just keeps going and going and going and going and going. Fun fact, the human ear can pretty much only hear between 20 hertz and 20,000 hertz. So unless you're a dog or an alien or something, you're not going to really be able to hear anything above or below that. So we don't really deal with that. So let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Turn these off. Blah, 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 blah. Now, one thing I want to talk to you about that never gets talked about in these EQ videos is a dominant frequency. Now, this is where I might get a little, start preaching a little heresy here. A dominant frequency is pretty much whatever the dominant frequency is of that particular instrument. So when you hit the snare, when you kick the kick, or when you bass the bass, whatever the quote, whatever is dominating in the frequency range is going to be is the dominant frequency. And that's like the organic, like natural frequency that it creates on its own. And so many people have this misconception that to create a good sound for a snare drum, for example, they think you have to boost a bunch of high frequencies because they want that crack or that pop or that crunch or that nice shimmery sound of a snare drum, when in reality it's not that at all. I'm going to show you what I mean. So I'm going to turn this to the curve option here because I want you to see more. So pay attention when I hit play again, where the biggest, nothing is happening. I have nothing engaged. There's nothing boosted or cut. And this is just going to be what is happening naturally from the snare drum. So I'm going to hit play and we're going to listen to that. So you'll notice it's right around this right here. It's right around 225. Like 249, right about there, right about 249 is where it was pushing most of it. So this is kind of where the body of this snare drum lives. You could say the body of it lives right about here. You notice though, nothing's really happening over here. I mean, there is a little bit, but not so much that you would think, oh, that's clearly the body of the snare. Clearly, actually, this is the body of the snare. So what would we do? Would we just boost everything up like crazy? No, we wouldn't do that because we're not lunatics. What we're really going to do is we are going to cut a pretty significant amount up to right about where the body lives. Now this little button right here, you might have something similar to this. You probably will have something similar to this on the low cut and the high cut buttons. This just affects the slope, so you'll notice a lower number creates a more gradual slope and a higher number creates a more aggressive slope. I typically stick around right around the mid, somewhere in the middle, right there. We'll call it 12. So I'm going to cut right about where I'm going to boost. And then I'm going to create, you can either peak, and a peak is a peak, and a shelf is, you guessed it, a shelf. See the line? The line that was created right there? That's the shelf. So we're going to boost pretty aggressively right there. This guy, I'm going to narrow the Q out on our mid-range right here. This is called Q. Sometimes it's called resonance. Sometimes it's called bandwidth. Either way, it is the exact same thing. It's the same thing. It just is, it's either going to be narrow or wide. The higher the number, the more narrow. The smaller the number, the more wide. So we are going to narrow the heck out of this, and we're going to boost the heck out of it. And we're going to, this is another practice. It's like this, they call it, I think, sometimes surgical EQ. You super narrow the band and you boost it like crazy, and you're listening for those really ugly, disgusting frequencies. In this case, this particular frequency I'm listening for is what I call the Darth Vader sound. It's that really breathy, airy, boxy, paper, gross mid-range sound. You'll hear it. You'll hear it. I'm going to disengage it, and then I'm going to engage it, and you'll hear it immediately. hear that? It's gross. We pull that out pretty much all the way. I'm going to widen this up because I don't trust anything else up here. I want all of this gone. I'm boosting here and cutting here anyway, so when I cut here, I'm really just like zeroing in on what I'm trying to boost, if that makes any sense. So, disengage. Engage. So what else are we going to do? We're going to cut pretty high because remember, not a lot's going on down here. And we can't really hear anything beyond this line anyway. So we're going to do a high cut. We're going to, let's take it to right around 4K. We're going to create a nice shelf. Engage our high frequency. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to boost right about where we cut. So, I'm going to play this for you again in context, and I'm going to, off and on, I'm going to bypass, which is this button right here, and I'm going to unbypass it. Off and on, basically, is what we're going to do. And I want you to hear what it sounds like in context and just the difference it makes. It's not a huge, massive difference, but it's like a good place to start because it's setting everything up. I believe in setting everything up. Is EQ is huge. If you EQ things right and set the volumes and everything right and get the gain and everything right, then everything else is just, it's all secondary. Anyway, so let's go. Let's listen to this one more time. Take that off. And there you go. So that is kind of the basic fundamentals of EQ. That is how I personally would EQ this snare drum. That is, we covered the dominant frequency. We covered kind of what to boost, where to cut. We covered all of these different bands here, what all this kind of means. And so thank you for watching. I want to share something with you. And as a thank you, it's my free gift to you. If you go to my website, it's www.gofrettofret.com. I'll also leave a link down in the description. It's a free guide. It's a free ebook, totally free. My gift to you. It's called the Gain Staging Guide. And Gain Staging Guides is one of those often misunderstood concepts. It's something, it's so important, and it can really help make or break a great mix. So it's my gift to you for just watching this video and being my friend. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to this channel and turn on those notifications. If you haven't already, I encourage you. I release content all the time. I want to help musicians grow. It's my passion. It's my calling. And I love what I do. So thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one. All right, guys. Bye.